In 1928, while on an expedition in the snowy Karakoram Mountains of India, a mountaineer, Keanu Reeves, stumbles upon a radiant sphere of ice. As he chips away at it with his pickaxe, he is suddenly blinded by an intense light. When he regains consciousness, the sphere has disappeared, leaving behind a scar in his hand. Fast forward to the present day, Professor Helen Benson Jennifer Connelly, a renowned astrobiologist at Princeton University, is preparing dinner for her stepson Jacob, Jaden Smith, when she receives a strange phone call informing her that they are coming to get her. When she inquires about who they are, the U.S. government arrives at her house and urgently informs her that she is under federal protection and must leave with them right away. They arrive at Fort Linwood in New Jersey, where Helen and a group of others are gathered in a conference room. They learn that a massive unidentified object, traveling at about 1/10 the speed of light, is set to impact Manhattan in approximately 78 minutes. Helen is placed on a helicopter with several other scientists to devise a survival plan. Just as they brace for the impact, everything goes silent. It seems the object has slowed down and will not crash after all. Dr. Benson turns to glance out the helicopter window and catches sight of a large, bright sphere descending toward the ground. The object turns out to be a spaceship, which lands softly in Central Park. A being named Klaatu, Keanu Reeves, steps out from the sphere, surrounded by a military perimeter. Just as Dr. Benson reaches out to shake his hand, he is shot. Suddenly, a massive robot appears, releasing a sound that immobilizes humans and disrupts all electrical systems in New York City. Before the robot can take Klaatu away, he commands it to shut down. The military transports the being to a hospital, where doctors work to revive him. A surgeon is called in to extract the bullet. As he attempts the procedure, he discovers that the being's outer layer resembles a jelly-like substance, similar to whale blubber, which starts to peel away on its own. The theory is that this jelly-like layer acts as the being's placenta, similar to that of a human baby, suggesting it was born on Earth. When it first landed in 1928, the skin sample taken from the mountaineer's hand served as a DNA source for the being to replicate itself in human form. The being is quickly placed in an incubator to facilitate its growth. Time passes, and a fully grown human figure is seen inside the incubator. Once he awakens, he starts to thrash around. The first person to speak to him is Dr. Benson. While recovering, Klaatu is interviewed by Regina Jackson, Kathy Bates, the United States Secretary of Defense, Dr. Michael Grenier, John Hamm, and Dr. Benson. He introduces himself and explains that he is a representative of a coalition of alien races sent to communicate with the world's leaders. Jackson laughs at Klaatu's claim and tells him that she's the closest he'll get to the president, demanding he share his message. When he refuses, she orders that he be taken to a secure location, drugged and interrogated. Dr. Benson volunteers to administer the drugs, but instead injects him with a saline solution while whispering, "Run." During the polygraph session, Klaatu uses mind control on the interrogator and makes his escape. He reaches a train station, but his bullet wound opens up, prompting him to seek Dr. Benson's help. Meanwhile, Dr. Benson is at home with Jacob when she receives a call from the train station, informing her that Klaatu is there asking for her. She quickly rushes over, with Jacob in the back seat. After leaving the train station, they are pursued by authorities through the streets of Newark, New Jersey, and into the forested highlands. The appearance of the sphere has triggered a global panic. The U.S. military successfully captures the robot from earlier, known as GORT, Genetically Organized Robotic Technology, after it prevents their efforts to destroy the sphere with unmanned aerial vehicles launching Hellfire missiles. At a McDonald's, Klaatu meets a man named Mr. Wu, who reveals that he is another alien sent by the same coalition of civilizations to live among humans for 70 years. After learning from Mr. Wu about humanity's destructive tendencies, Klaatu concludes that humans must be exterminated to protect the planet and its rare ability to sustain complex life. Mr. Wu chooses to remain on Earth, having experienced a side of humanity that he cherishes. However, Klaatu is unable to recognize this love and orders smaller spheres, previously hidden on Earth, to start removing animal species from the planet. This action is likened to Noah and his ark, preparing for a flood that will wipe out the world. Meanwhile, The robot undergoes experiments in an underground facility in Virginia. It then transforms into a swarm of insect-like nanites that start tearing through everything in their path on the way back to Manhattan, including an armored battalion of the U.S. Army. Dr. Benson attempts to persuade Klaatu that humanity is not inherently bad and can improve the Earth. Still skeptical, she takes him to visit Nobel Prize-winning Professor Barnhart, John Cleese. There they discuss how Klaatu's own species underwent significant evolution to survive the destruction of its star. Klaatu is ultimately convinced by Helen and Jacob that humans can change and are worth saving. However, instead of staying quietly in the next room, Jacob calls an 800 hotline to report Klaatu's location. He soon realizes his mistake when military personnel capture Dr. Benson, leaving him alone with Klaatu. Together, they continue their journey toward the sphere. Meanwhile, Regina Jackson comes to the realization that convincing the alien to change its mind might be humanity's only chance for survival. Dr. Benson is permitted to leave. At the cemetery, Jacob guides Klaatu to his father's grave, pleading for him to use his powers to bring his father back to life. Klaatu explains that he cannot do this, but he comforts Jacob by sharing that no one truly dies. Everything in the universe is transformed into something else. Just then, Helen and Michael arrive. Helen expresses how much she misses Jacob's father, and they share an emotional moment together, crying for their loss. The heartfelt moment between Helen and Jacob convinces Klaatu to reconsider his stance on humanity. He begins to recognize the qualities that Mr. Wu admires about humans, seeing the potential for love and connection. Klaatu declares that he will try to stop the destruction, and they make their way toward the sphere. Dr. Benson senses something is off. The entire town has been evacuated, and after driving through a roadblock, they aren't pursued by military vehicles. As they near the sphere, she shouts for Michael to stop the car. At that moment, a targeted missile strike, authorized by the president, hits the sphere, sending the car crashing into a tree and killing Michael. At that moment, the cloud of nanobots arrives. Klaatu warns that even if he can stop Gort, there will be consequences for the human way of life. Realizing there isn't enough time to reach the sphere, they sprint toward a footbridge to seek shelter beneath it. Under the footbridge, Jacob and Dr. Benson discover they have bloody noses, revealing that they've been infected by the nanites and are beginning to die. Desperate, she pleads with Klaatu to save Jacob. In a selfless act, Klaatu transfers the infection to himself, saving both of them. He then sacrifices himself by walking through the nanites toward the sphere and touching it, ultimately stopping Gort. Klaatu's actions trigger the sphere to emit a massive EMP, which destroys Gort and saves humanity, but leaves Earth's technology useless and immobile. As the sphere begins to depart, Jacob realizes that Klaatu didn't die. He has merged with the giant sphere. The surrounding spheres then follow the giant sphere as it leaves Earth. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more film caps.